Good morning and welcome to Herald Now. I'm Garth Bray and it's Wednesday, the 19th of November. On the show today, mining. The government wants more, the Greens not so much, but will it be a coalition deal breaker? Well, we'll be digging up the dirt with the Greens' Chloe Swarbrick and ACT's David Seymour. It's been a tough start to the job for the Police Commissioner Richard Chambers. He joins me from the Netherlands with his plans for restoring our faith in the force. And why is Doc hopping up and down about a super rare pink grasshopper? Why this discovery is a game changer. Plus, I'll talk to Briscoe's Group CEO Rod Duke about the future of retail. All of that after the news with Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A plea for major political parties to stop the U-turns and depoliticise crucial long-term growth policies. A new Business NZ report suggesting ways to strengthen New Zealand's position by 2050 ahead of predicted worker shortages. Advocacy Director Catherine Beard says policy reforms must include cross-party agreement to raise the retirement age, a KiwiSaver contributions boost, financial literacy in schools and a well-planned immigration strategy. Families of some of the Pike River miners are spending today's anniversary in Wellington, meeting with the Workplace Relations and Safety Minister. It's 15 years since 29 men died in the mine, their bodies never recovered. Anna Osborne, who lost her husband, and Sonia Rockhouse, whose son died, will sit down with Brooke Van Velden this afternoon. They plan to tell her how hard it is to lose a loved one at work and feel like it's brushed under the carpet. More revelations relating to the West Coast religious community of Gloria Vale. The Herald's revealed Oranga Tamariki received a complaint about Gloria Vale parents suffocating children 8 years ago. But the agency concluded their investigation with police without taking any formal enforcement action. Concern more than half of trainees aren't completing their apprenticeships. Vocational Education Minister Penny Simmons is seeking extra funding so new industry bodies can investigate low apprenticeship completion rates. She says the government could help through policy settings and funding, but the nature of the problem was likely to vary between industries. Te Pukenga Chief Executive Gus Gilmore says things like training wage rates, low pay and the economic downturns causing them to lose their job. The Police Commissioners apologised to staff affected by email protocols in the Jevon McSkimming scandal. 36 emails were sent to the Police Minister's office containing serious accusations against the former Deputy Commissioner, but these were forwarded straight to police headquarters. The revelations have come after a scathing IPCA report into the handling of these allegations. A fresh plea for Rotsurua's courthouse to be prioritised as we head into election year after it ranked last in the latest court users survey. Concerns about leaks, delays and safety issues have been raised for years, alongside calls for the building to be redeveloped or replaced. Despite being part of a pitch at the government's Investor Summit earlier this year, the funds were not allocated in this year's budget. The Ministry of Justice's survey found 68% of court users were satisfied or very satisfied with the services and facilities, down 10% on 2023. It says the questions changed substantially between surveys and Rotorua ranked highly in other areas.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Otago's opening trio of Jack Boyle, Jacob Cumming and debutant Tom Jones have posted centuries against hosts Wellington as part of 428 for 4 on the opening day of the Plunket Shield cricket season. League forward Ali Kato has been ruled out of the next NRL season due to medical advice after suffering several head knocks playing for Tonga in the Pacific Championships. He has departed hospital to rehabilitate at home. Fabian Holland's rookie All Blacks season has been recognised with a nomination for Breakthrough Player of the Year by World Rugby.
Now, when I walked into the building this morning, I passed a fully decorated Christmas tree. It's the middle of November, and when I checked my email, there was a Black Friday sale on, but that's next Friday, but it's underway now, and so is the Cyber Monday sale for the Monday after. I feel like any minute now, someone is going to walk up and offer me an Easter egg or a hot cross bun. Look, I know it's been a super tough time for retail and for everyone, really. We're right in the thick of the 60-odd days from Labour weekend to Boxing Day, where retail aims to make a buck, jobs are on the line, our recovery's been weak. Any little reason to run a sale? It's probably quite alluring, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, people. Surely the decorations can wait another week or two. They will be at my place. How about at yours? I don't know, am I just being a Grinch? Let us know your reckons. Here's the weather.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora. There's been wet weather overnight, and Wednesday holds plenty more in store as this weather system brings further moisture from the north. It also continues to stream warm air over the country, so it's a warm and muggy start to the day. With so much wet weather around, heavy rain watches and warnings remain in place today with possible downpours. Remember that heavy rain can lead to things like surface flooding, rapidly rising streams and rivers, and difficult driving conditions. It's another warm day in the deep south with a break in the weather for most. However, the Otago coast may see some cloud increasing tonight. There's a bit more weather for this part of the South Island, and heavier showers are possible tonight for parts of Tasman, Nelson and the Marlborough Sounds. It's a warm day with wetter periods throughout the day, but Taranaki may see heavy rain at times with the heavy rain watch in place until 7 p.m. Take extra care in the Bay of Plenty this morning after a wet night. Further heavy rain is expected today with downpours possible. A muggy day can be expected for the upper north with warm temperatures and rain at times, giving things a bit of a tropical feel. After widespread rain sweeps through this morning, on and off showers can be expected this afternoon and evening.
Time now for our political panel, and joining us live down the line from Parliament today is ACT leader David Seymour and Greens co-leader Chloe Swarbrick. Good morning to you both side by side there.
Morena.
Good morning.
Good morning. Chloe, I'd just like to start with you if I can. Both New Zealand First and National have taken a big swipe at the Greens' promise to roll back any consent given to hard rock mining. Revoking those things, I guess it's a bold move to put it out there well ahead of the election, but what's your response to the criticism that you're the most anti-region, anti-jobs and anti-economy political party we've ever had in Parliament?
The Greens are the only political party that at present has put a fully costed evidence-based plan on the table to actually create 40,000 good green jobs and to revitalise our regions. I'd invite everybody to just Google the Green Industrial Strategy alongside our green budget, where we've shown how we can pay for these things if we are to fairly tax the wealthiest people in this country. But if we can just take a step back and talk about those fast-track consents, right? They have not yet actually been granted. So what we've done as the Greens is put a clear, consistent and principled line in the sand and said that if the government does want to move ahead with granting these fast-track consents, which have been overwhelmingly opposed by 90% of New Zealanders who submitted at Select Committee, which sideline the climate, conservation and community voices, well, those are relatively illegitimate in the way that they have been granted, so therefore we will end up revoking them.
Are they firm
and it's kind of a bit
lines,
of a message, I guess.
Is that a firm line?
It's us trying...
Is that a firm line that you're putting there, or is that a negotiable one if you're entering into a coalition agreement?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. These consents have not yet been granted, and what we're saying is that were they to be granted through this illegitimate process that this government has set up, then we would revoke them, and ultimately it's down to New Zealanders to decide. If you want an economy that supports both people and the planet, instead of exhausting and exploiting both, then the Green Party is on your side. Unfortunately, the government that we have at the moment is trying to sell New Zealanders more of the poison as though it is the cure, and I think New Zealanders can see through that.
David, I'm obviously fascinated to hear what you make of that. I imagine that you're quite a fan of the fast-track process, given the support that ACT's given it.
Well, I am, because ultimately we need jobs in New Zealand, and we don't need jobs where you have a fancy document that says you're basically going to find some people with money, tax it, and then create essentially fake jobs. If they were real jobs, then they would generate wealth and people would be paid for them. These guys, as they just said, want to tax other people and create jobs which aren't real. New Zealand's been down that track before. It doesn't work.
This government will just cut them.
But there's two more important issues here. Number one is when I talk to people up and down the country, whatever sector they're in, they want continuity, they want certainty, they want to know that if you make a plan, if you save your money, if you invest it, if you have a go in New Zealand, then actually it's going to work out for you, or at least the government won't pull the rug out. Now, when you have someone say, oh, well, people made email submissions to Select Committee, therefore we're just going to change the law that was made by a parliament. In fact, not just change the law, but take away consents that people had. That terrifies anyone who's thinking of investing in this country. It's flip-flop on steroids. And I can't emphasise this enough. When New Zealand First and Labour and the Greens, when they said there will be no more oil and gas exploration permits, they didn't actually cancel any existing ones. Nonetheless, the shockwaves that sent through and the discouragement of people investing in that sector is one of the reasons why electricity prices are high right now, because you can't get people to invest in that industry. It's too risky. You don't know what the government's going to do. They're now going a step further and saying, we will actually cancel permits you already have. So in terms of stability...
Well, they're not permits that they already have, technically. I think the point is they haven't been issued, so this is putting them on notice, right?
Well, they're saying if they are issued, they'll cancel them. So you don't know if you've got a contract in New Zealand if it's actually safe. That's death to an economy. But the second part is there's a hypocrisy to it, because when Chloe Swarbrick flies business class to London, she's dependent on mining. When people print stuff on paper, those things in the paper toner are printed, your furniture, your jewellery, your car, everything about life today depends on mining. What Chloe's really saying is, we want all that stuff, we just want the jobs and the mining to happen elsewhere, and that is total hypocrisy.
You're regretting that
if
one
I may
flight,
respond, Garth.
Yes, of course.
Oh, no, look, I guess I could get into all of the ad hominem attacks, but I think New Zealand is I think New Zealand is a pretty bloody sick of politicians just going at each other on a personal level. So let's just come back down to the facts. We live in the world that we want to change. Right now, a lot of the economic defaults are incredibly harmful to people and planet. There's huge amounts of hidden costs in our supply chains, whether it is in the form of putting pressure on wages or whether it is in desecrating our natural environment. The Greens have always been crystal clear that we want to change that economy. And I think New Zealanders can see that over the last 40 years of successive governments deciding to not invest in our public infrastructure and in our services, but also to hand over the keys of our economy to large corporations and speculators, that hardworking New Zealanders are actually the ones being screwed over. And the Greens have been crystal clear and principled, evidence-based and fully costed in the policies that we have put forward, which has shown how we can transform this economy. We used to make things in this country, and we can do it again. We can invest in and create renewable distributed electricity. We can create tens of thousands of public houses, and we can reduce the cost of living, reduce our climate changing emissions, and also increase New Zealanders' quality of life.
I think what New Zealanders are a little tired of is just one soundbite being ticked off after another. There's nothing in what she's just said that actually says, here is how we would do something practically to make sure it happens.
I've just told you through our budget and our fiscal strategy and our industrial strategy, which are all available in detail online.
Soundbites. What we practically need to do is make it easier to get resource consent to build homes. You see, so often builders will say it takes twice as long to get permission to build something as actually build it. That's why people are living in poverty. That's why it's hard to get a house. That's why there's a generation who thinks we don't have a future here. What we're doing with resource management reform, it's been going 35 years. Everyone said they're going to do it. I'm really proud to be in a party that's actually going to replace the Resource Management Act. And it looks like we're going to halve the number of consents required so people can do stuff on their own property. If it doesn't affect the environment, doesn't affect anyone else, they can just do it. Now, if you want to see more homes getting built, that's the kind of change you've got to make.
I feel like we've been going 35 years on this one as well.
Easily, that's what you've got to do. These are the practical things required.
Yeah,
I feel like we've been going 35 years on this
otherwise,
one as well. I just want to pick up something.
I'd refer people back to the ACT Party's history and the inequality that ACT Party policy has created in this country.
David, New Zealand was given Fossil of the Day award at COP30 because the government backtracked on methane emission targets. I'm sure that's probably not going to be a worry for you, but is it a wider concern that maybe we're not seen as pulling our weight?
No, I think what's important is that New Zealand farmers are some of the most efficient in the world, if not the most efficient. They can produce protein with less emissions into the atmosphere than others. So the question is pretty simple. Do we want the New Zealand government to put stringent regulations in place that actually put them out of business so the customers, those 40 million people, can start getting their protein from other farmers elsewhere in the world? and we end up worse off economically, but also because those other farmers elsewhere emit more into the atmosphere, those customers get the same food with higher emissions. I mean, it's actually shooting ourselves in both feet. And again, you have to take a practical approach. It's like this with a lot of things. I mean, I grew up in Northland, near the Portland Cement Company. You know, that has 120 jobs. They produce cement. We could put them out of business if we decided to be tough on their emissions. Instead, we're respecting that they've made massive efforts to reduce their emissions to be more efficient. We're not going to put them out of business so that New Zealanders who go to Bunnings buy cement from Vietnam, where they have no climate policy whatsoever, but it is cheaper. So this is about trying to find a way.
This is about onshoring
jobs.
I'm interested.
And keep our efforts on.
Yeah.
The
this is about the onshoring the emissions.
Continuing.
Chloe,
and this is the choice, right? Chloe can talk about poverty or she can talk about climate, but you actually have to be sensible and practical to balance the two.
Yeah, I mean, we could do, if we wanted to address what David was talking about, something called carbon border adjustments, whereby we effectively price in that kind of carbon leakage, where it is effectively cheaper to produce other things offshore, but it ends up resulting in higher carbon kind of emissions leakage.
You're talking about a new tax on everything New Zealanders consume. So
I'm actually not, if I'm allowed to talk.
Half the time I get Chloe Swarbrick, who's worried about poverty, worried about the cost of living. Half the time I get Chloe, who wants to destroy the economy, rip up contracts and put new taxes on them. And you've got to choose.
Let's hear which one we've got today, shall we, David?
Yeah, so I guess, do you want to ask a question of me, Garth? Because I can't quite recall where we were at before David jumped in.
I think we've got both, Chloe's.
Okay.
I think we've had plenty. Thank you very much both for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. It's Chloe Swarbrick and David Seymour live with us from Parliament. If you've got some thoughts about that, please just let us know your views. I mean, I don't know whether you know much about carbon onshoring and so on, but you can always flick us an email on Herald Now at nzherald.co.nz. That's Herald Now at nzherald.co.nz. We'd love to hear your feedback. Right, we've had some disturbing new revelations that show that children at Gloria Vale were allegedly suffocated as a form of discipline. And the really shocking part to add to this is that authorities knew about it 8 years ago. So why are they taking formal enforcement action now? What took them so long? Michael Morra is a senior investigative reporter here at the Herald, and he's been looking into this. He joins me now. Michael, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Garth.
People will have seen this story and been aware about the technique that we were talking about. Perhaps if you can just catch us up.
Yeah, so I think just to refresh our viewers and listeners this morning on Herald Now, the key thing here is that under the founder of Gloria Vale, Hopeful Christian, he taught parents, and this happened during married couples meetings, that to break the will of children and babies and to make sure they don't cry or disrupt meetings or dinner time, you would put your hand over their mouth and nose until the child went limp. Now, obviously to us this sounds incredibly dangerous.
That's shocking.
It is absolutely shocking. It is essentially suffocation, but this was taught and parents were told very clearly that don't worry, it's not dangerous, because when the child goes limp, they will then relax and start breathing again and it will be okay. There was evidence of the Royal Commission into Abuse and Care of Children going blue. Now, as a result of that inquiry where we heard about these suffocation tactics, there was a mass allegation investigation into this suffocation practice that the Herald revealed last month. Now, this started in November last year, and as a result of that investigation, more than 100 parents were interviewed and police issued 2 formal warnings to parents about this practice. They also offered parents parenting tips, essentially, about how to properly deal with normal childhood behaviours.
So this is advice more than enforcement?
Absolutely, although it must be said that a formal warning is enforcement action. So this was done just this year. But the really shocking part of this is that I've found out that Oranga Tamariki actually knew about this practice, this suffocation practice, 8 years ago. There was a formal report of concern filed with Oranga Tamariki in 2017. Now, as a result of that complaint, OT and police did go to Gloria Vale, but they did not take any formal enforcement action. What they did do was talk to the senior leadership at Gloria Vale, not the parents, not the community, the senior leaders, about, quote, safe parenting techniques. And I guess the concern here is that what has transpired between 2017 and late last year is that we don't know if this practice was ongoing.
Clearly the message didn't get through if there were further complaints, right?
No,
so this must have carried on.
Absolutely. And Brian Henry, lawyer, who's been involved in legal action against Gloria Vale, says he has witnesses who say that it was continuing. There is also an affidavit that I've obtained that is published this morning in the New Zealand Herald, and this is from a former Gloria Vale member, David Courage, and he states very clearly that after this 2017 investigation, parents heard nothing more about it. And at no stage did the senior leadership say to parents in any sort of formal meeting or at dinner time, hey guys, we shouldn't do this anymore. Actually, to the contrary, he says leaders said that if you're doing this practice, make sure you do it away and out of sight of outsiders, i.e. official people who are coming in. Do not do it in front of them because they don't like it.
They knew they were doing wrong, basically.
It's really concerning. So Brian Henry, in my piece this morning in the New Zealand Herald, is absolutely, in his words, flabbergasted. He says this response from our authorities, police in Oranga Tamariki, is unbelievable. And he essentially is saying they have not done their job and that this is, in his words, a serious crime that has not been dealt with properly over years and years and years.
So they have grounds, I guess, to act now? Do they have enough to sort of potentially consider charges or to open
Well,
investigation?
I guess that they would go back to their new investigation, which they carried out late last year, in which they again offered advice. But this time they actually gave that advice to all the community, and they also issued 2 formal warnings. Now, those formal warnings are deemed enforcement action because essentially a formal warning from police is when you have enough evidence to prosecute, but you decide the best mechanism is actually this formal warning instead of dragging it through the courts. But certainly my advice from both the Children's Minister Karen Chaw and Louise Upston, who is the Minister who's overseeing this response to the Commission's findings, is that they will be taking any further reports of concern about this practice very seriously. Gloria Vale, of course, is saying that they do not stand by this method of discipline anymore. And in their words, since 2016, they have had education programs for parents, quote, progressively embedded into community life. I guess that term progressively embedded is concerning.
That sounds like that needs some work to try and understand.
Absolutely, because progressively embedded does not say that the practice stopped in 2016, and of course we know it didn't, because there was reports of concern about the very thing 8 years ago.
And we know about that thanks to your reporting, so thank you for that, Michael Morrow. That's Michael Morrow, Senior Investigative Reporter here at the Herald. Right, coming up, Pickpock CEO Mario Winans was named Startup CEO of the Year last night, and he's in the studio next. Then Police Commissioner Richard Chambers is at The Hague. He'll join me from the Netherlands after the 7:30 news.
You Do It DIY can make your new dream kitchen a reality. As a trusted Kiwi manufacturer for 44 years, You Do It has made it easy to design, order and assemble your own dream kitchen, offering a range of colour options and flexible sizing. With excellent online support, our customers all agree that You Do It makes DIY easy, delivering superb quality at a great price. Get your project started today at newsroom.co.nz.
We have completed 4 builds with GJ. Every time we want to think of building, we always go back to GJ.
It's a really good experience throughout the whole process.
They deliver what they promise on, and it feels like working with a family member. It's very easy and trustworthy to work with GJ.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. Plus, this month, get a guaranteed $10 Kickstarter and the chance to win $1,000. Download Tempo now.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
An ordinary grasshopper survey in the riverbeds of the Mackenzie Basin just turned extraordinary for dock ranger Jen Shorey when she spotted an ultra-rare female of the species in vivid pink. Well, Jen joins us now to tell us all about the discovery. Jen, thanks for joining us on the show this morning. A pink grasshopper, this sort of sounds like a hallucination from AI, but tell us a bit more about why it's a real deal.
Yeah, so we were very excited to see her when we were doing our grasshopper surveys this spring. So the robust grasshopper is a nationally endangered grasshopper that's only found in the Mackenzie Basin, and it's associated only with braided rivers. So it's a very rare habitat and a very rare grasshopper. And it usually comes in the greys and browns of the braided river stones. So it's really well camouflaged in its habitat. But this season we found a pink one, which was incredibly exciting and incredibly rare.
What makes them, I guess, so rare? Why are they so uncommon?
So for a start, the grasshopper is nationally endangered. So the grasshopper itself is incredibly rare, but this pink colour is called erythrism, and it can be caused either by a genetic mutation or potentially by something that the grasshopper has eaten as well. But it causes an overproduction of the red pigmentation and potentially an underproduction of the normal pigmentation. And so to kind of have this coloration in the species is exceptionally rare. The other reason why it's so rare to see this species is, as you can see in the photos, it stands out incredibly well against its background. So compared to the kind of normal coloration, which blends in really well, this one stands out, and that makes it exceptionally vulnerable to predators.
That makes it sound like a bug rather than a feature. So I'm guessing that this is not something that's going to help it survive, yeah?
No, possibly not. So yeah, incredibly rare to see it, yeah.
I mean, is there a chance it could sort of spread if it manages to, mate successfully, or is this the kind of thing, like you say, just get sort of weeded out?
Yeah, there's always a chance. If it is caused by genetic mutation, there's always a chance that it could be passed on to the next generation. But yeah, as I say, she stands out really well in her environment, and so she'll have to do a really good job of hiding from the predators to make it through to adulthood. But in saying that, she's only got a couple more months. She'll be reaching adulthood this summer and laying her eggs. So there's a chance for sure.
Jen Shorey, dock ranger, I'll be heading down to the Mackenzie to see if I can try and track down that grasshopper myself. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. Right, the cream of corporate leadership gathered in Auckland last night for the inaugural Business Desk CEO Index Awards, and the winner of the Startup CEO category, Mario Winans from Pickpock, joins me now in the studio. Good morning, Mario, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, look, so tell us a bit about Pickpock for a start, because unlike its other similar name to TikTok, it's nothing to do with social media, right? You guys are making games.
Yeah, we're a studio based in Wellington, but also with a satellite studio in Medellin, Colombia, and we make and publish video games for mobile phone, PlayStation, PC, pretty much everything.
And for quite a while now, even though this was a startup award, I think the justification there was every time you launch a new game, it's a wee bit like a startup or like you're starting over. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I guess we've been waiting a long time to be an overnight success. So, yeah, pretty liberal definition of startup, I think.
Is that an important thing to remember when you're trying to start something, as so many people do when they've got an idea, that there's a huge amount of persistence required?
Yeah, I think it's really important to continually stay hungry, to continue to reflect on where you're at in the market, understand the changes, the pressures. So having a little bit of startup fear and startup excitement at all times is probably the right way to be.
Is the gaming industry in pretty good nick at the moment? I mean, are we doing well?
I think globally, like a lot of industries, the video game industry has seen a lot of pressure from flat consumer markets, but in New Zealand, we're actually beating those odds. We've continued to grow year on year. This year, the New Zealand Game Developers Association announced over $750 million in export revenue for the last financial year. So continuing to be successful, new companies coming through, older companies continuing to grow.
And I guess this is the kind of money that you can make without necessarily needing to ship product, worry about a supply chain. It's digital, right? So it moves around a lot more freely and it touches anyone anywhere who's keen to get into it. Yeah,
very lightweight industry, great for creating and retaining IP within the country as well. Very people-focused industry with highly skilled jobs. So definitely the sort of industry I think that can help New Zealand in this next phase of our economy.
Probably a bit of a helping hand for Wellington too, having a business that's actually starting and running there rather than sort of shutting down and winding back. It's been a bit of a down vibe in the capital for a while, yeah?
I guess you get a little bit of that feeling, and with some of the austerity that we've had in government, that's put some pressure on a lot of local businesses, hospitality in particular. So, you kind of have to do what you can to support local business, but there is hope, I think. I think I do see good things for the economy nationally, and for Wellington in particular. I'm a long-term Wellingtonian, grew up in Lower Hutt, but Wellington City, college boy. I'm really optimistic about Wellington for the long term.
Do you think, just thinking back to the awards, which were there to try and, I guess, catch, a bit like parenting, catching your kids doing well, catch CEOs doing well, reward them a little bit for progress rather than just sort of pointing out the paychecks and that kind of thing like media tend to do. I mean, is that something we honestly need to do a little bit more of, maybe? Try and look at some of the successes?
I guess for me personally, it's good to take my head out of the weeds for a while and sit back and reflect on, oh wow, we're actually doing pretty well, and it's great to get the recognition. So really appreciate that from Business Desk. But yeah, I think sometimes it's just amazing when you discover what's going on in New Zealand and just seeing the kind of world-class businesses and people and products and services that we're building here. So it's really exciting to be in that sort of room and to feel that energy in taking on the world.
And to make it here nice and fresh and early the next morning as well. Startup CEO of the Year, PikPok's Mario Winans, thank you very much for joining us. It is just after 7:30, time for the news with Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A plea for major political parties to stop the U-turns and depoliticise crucial long-term growth policies. A new Business NZ report suggesting ways to strengthen New Zealand's position by 2050 ahead of predicted worker shortages. Advocacy Director Catherine Beard says policy reforms must include cross-party agreement to raise the retirement age, a KiwiSaver contributions boost, financial literacy in schools, and a well-planned immigration strategy. Families of some of the Pike River miners are spending today's anniversary in Wellington, meeting with the Workplace Relations and Safety Minister. It's 15 years since 29 men died in the mine, their bodies never recovered. Anna Osborne, who lost her husband, and Sonia Rockhouse, whose son died, will sit down with Brooke Van Velden this afternoon. They plan to tell her how hard it is to lose a loved one at work and feel like it's brushed under the carpet. More revelations relating to the West Coast religious community of Gloria Vale. The Herald's revealed Oranga Tamariki received a complaint about Gloria Vale parents suffocating children 8 years ago, but the agency concluded their investigation with police without taking any formal enforcement action. Concern more than half of trainees aren't completing their apprenticeships. Vocational Education Minister Penny Simmons is seeking extra funding so new industry bodies can investigate low apprenticeship completion rates. She says the government could help through policy settings and funding, but the nature of the problem was likely to vary between industries. Te Pukenga Chief Executive Gus Gilmore says things like training wage rates, low pay and the economic downturns causing them to lose their job. The Police Commissioner's apologised to staff affected by email protocols in the Jevon McSkimming scandal. 36 emails were sent to the Police Minister's office containing serious accusations against the former Deputy Commissioner, but these were forwarded straight to police headquarters. The revelations have come after a scathing IPCA report into the handling of these allegations. A fresh plea for Rotorua's courthouse to be prioritised as we head into election year after it ranked last in the latest court users survey. Concerns about leaks, delays and safety issues have been raised for years, alongside calls for the building to be redeveloped or replaced. Despite being part of a pitch at the government's Investor Summit earlier this year, the funds were not allocated in this year's budget. The Ministry of Justice's survey found 68% of court users were satisfied or very satisfied with the services and facilities, down 10% on 2023. It says the questions changed substantially between surveys and Rotorua ranked highly in other areas.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora. There's been wet weather overnight, and Wednesday holds plenty more in store as this weather system brings further moisture from the north. It also continues to stream warm air over the country, so it's a warm and muggy start to the day. With so much wet weather around, heavy rain watches and warnings remain in place today with possible downpours. Remember that heavy rain can lead to things like surface flooding, rapidly rising streams and rivers, and difficult driving conditions. It's another warm day in the deep south with a break in the weather for most. However, the Otago coast may see some cloud increasing tonight. There's a bit more weather for this part of the South Island, and heavier showers are possible tonight for parts of Tasman, Nelson and the Marlborough Sounds. It's a warm day with wetter periods throughout the day, but Taranaki may see heavy rain at times with the heavy rain watch in place until 7 p.m. Take extra care in the Bay of Plenty this morning after a wet night. Further heavy rain is expected today with downpours possible. A muggy day can be expected for the upper north with warm temperatures and rain at times, giving things a bit of a tropical feel. After widespread rain sweeps through this morning, on and off showers can be expected this afternoon and evening.
It's been a bruising 7 days in the public eye, especially for Police Commissioner Richard Chambers, who joins me from The Hague in the Netherlands now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Gareth.
Look, there's a report out this morning from RNZ that says 2 members of the police's senior leadership team, including former Deputy Police Commissioner Tania Kura, visited Jevon McSkimming after he was charged with possessing objectionable material. Do you know of any other members of the police who visited him during this time?
Look, I'm aware of 2, Garth, and as soon as I found out about this, I addressed it with them. I expressed my huge disappointment, lack of judgment, poor decision-making. I addressed it with former Deputy Commissioner Tania Kura and one other member of the senior leadership team. So, yeah, very disappointed, actually, when you've got a person on serious criminal charges. It's not wise for any member of police to be visiting, frankly.
So that's a total of 2 that you know of. Are there likely to be others?
Well, look, I'm not sure. I'm aware of 2, Garth, and I've addressed it directly with those 2 individuals as soon as I became aware.
We know you've mentioned you expressed your disappointment to Kura. Was there any legitimate reason for her to be visiting McSkimming?
No, frankly, no, not at all. In fact, I think Ms. Kura was, when I asked for an explanation, she found it, she couldn't see what the issue was, and I explained that to her. It was a serious issue. It was a poor decision-making and poor judgment. So I'm aware of 2, and that's it.
No suggestion of a visit for support or anything to sort of check in on him?
No, I had one of my other senior members of my leadership team whose job it was to provide that support, and that was well known by people. So there was no requirement for any other person to provide welfare support at all.
Yeah, was she explicitly told not to visit him, or was that just a lapse of judgment?
I think it was a lapse of judgment and poor decision making.
Okay, I guess does that about sum up any of the cultural issues that are lingering around Police National Headquarters right now? Have you got anything else you need to be addressing?
Well, Garth, I think as the IPCA report says, a situation of a small number of former senior leaders who, from my perspective, I've used the words cover up, I've used the words groupthink, and I firmly believe, that's what we're dealing with. And my job with the new leadership team is to move forward. We've got a big job to do for our country, and I'm looking forward to moving forward with my leadership team. My job and my leadership team, our job is to support the men and women of New Zealand Police who do an incredible job, and I don't want this to detract from what they do for our country.
You obviously, is this an Interpol conference or something that you're attending in the Netherlands at the moment? Is that giving you a chance to sort of compare notes with other senior leaders in police in other countries?
Yeah, absolutely, Garth. It's the Interpol General Assembly, and because I'm over here, I take the opportunity to meet with a number of my peers. And in the last 24 hours, I've met with the Commissioner of the Met Police, the Director General of the National Crime Agency in the UK. Tomorrow, it's the Executive Director of Europol, which is why I'm in The Hague, and then Secretary General of Interpol. And so I continue to do my job as the Commissioner of Police. The only thing that's changed is the time zone. So I think tonight I've got meetings back in New Zealand at 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and, we box on and we move forward. The Met must be an interesting chat because they've obviously got their own scandal, the Metropolitan Police in London, dealing with sort of shutting down a number of questionable practices at one of their branches that was exposed in a Panorama documentary. Allegations of sort of use of force and racism and misogyny and so on. Are there notes there that you're sharing about how to deal with a crisis situation where perhaps people's confidence is dented a little bit? Yeah, absolutely, Garth. I met with Sir Mark Rowley twice since in the 24 hours I was in London, and we had breakfast this morning. We talked about that. I was particularly keen to talk to Sir Mark about how he navigated that for his agency, and because I want to do my best for New Zealand and for New Zealand Police. And if there's something that I can learn from the Met Police and their experience, then I will. And and sharing a few thoughts with Sir Mark was very helpful to me. And I'm confident that I have the right plan moving forward. Not only to address the IPCA recommendations, but also to ensure that I'm very, very clear, as I have been in my first year, about standards and expectations across the board. You have been. Have you had time for a swim while you were there? No, Garth, I haven't, and it's very cold actually, a little like it was back in New Zealand. That doesn't put you off, I hear. Well, no, that's right, and look, that's my fault. As soon as I honestly thought that the warning had lifted, I got it wrong. It was a very brief dip at Oriental Bay early one morning in the middle of winter with the FBI director, and as soon as I realised, in fact, it hadn't lifted, the warning hadn't lifted, I apologised to the Minister of Police, who's also the Minister of Emergency Management. Quite. Was it your idea or was it Kash Patel's idea to take a swim? Well, I think between Kash Patel and myself, there's a bit of, competitive tension, shall we say. So we had a fairly quick run around the waterfront, and I think he got pretty hot in doing that. And I think between us, we agreed a quick dip would be a good idea. But the US and New Zealand racing around the waterfront on foot was a bit of fun. And look, it's my fault. I've got to own the fact that that very, very brief dip in the water. And I regret doing that. I wouldn't normally do that when there's an advisory out, obviously. Well, I'm glad to hear that you were putting him through his paces. Richard Chambers, Police Commissioner, joining us. Very grateful for your time today, given the time zone from The Hague in the Netherlands. Thank you. Now, look, if you've got anything to say about that, any of those topics, the state of the, this inquiry into behaviour at police, flick us an email at herald.now@nzherald.co.nz. That's herald.now@nzherald.co.nz. We would love your feedback. Next, Dilipa Fonseca with the day's business news, thanks to our partners, 2 Degrees.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because of the good quality that they always provide us.
They've helped us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
I became a Herald journalist to get at the truth.
I became a Herald journalist to share not only what's going on, but also what it means.
To help people make up their own minds about the issues that matter.
To give a voice to every New Zealander and to expose the issues affecting our communities. To make sure that people that are in positions of power are held to account.
To enact change that will ultimately benefit all of society.
To take our readers closer to the action.
I became a Herald journalist to put the facts first. That's the reason we're here.
If it's news you can trust, it's news worth knowing. The New Zealand Herald.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to newsroom.co.nz.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Barr investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Barr, investment advice.
Time now to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. Now, we've been hearing a bit about the CEO Index from Business Desk, and Richard Taylor from Weta Workshop was the overall winner in that. He's not here in the country today, but Dileepa Fonseca is, and he joins me now from Business Desk with more. Good morning, Dileepa.
Kia ora, Garth.
Kia ora.
I feel like I'm moving in on your show here because you've been slowly unveiling the CEO Index over the last few weeks, and now
I'm fully clothed. I'm fully clothed. There is no striptease happening here today.
Ryan Bridge missed out, wasn't he? Calling it the slowest striptease ever or something.
We'll clue him in later. He can watch a clip later. That'll catch him up. Look, so we sort of are getting a sense of who were the winners. It's all on the site today and so on. But I mean, what is it sort of telling us about leadership, corporate leadership in New Zealand, do you think?
Yeah, so the overall winner was Richard Taylor, CEO of, the co-founder of Weta Workshop, and the winner of the startup category, Mario from Pike, which you had on. Your listed company was Rod Duke from the Briscoe Group, and public sector CEO we also awarded, which is Christine Stevenson, who's the CEO of the Customs Service, which actually, just as a side note, Customs actually collects over 10% of the government's revenue. So it's although it
you want them on the money.
although it flies under the radar, it is it's a massive part of the government as well, massively important for the government. And I think one of I didn't choose these. There was an independent panel that chose it. Business Desk kind of fed in a little bit of our knowledge in terms of a long list of, hey, look, this is the big list that you can choose from. And then it's, largely a panel that kind of made sort of some of the more, the finer grained decisions. But what I like about what they've chosen around this is that, there's a lot of, it's about leadership rather than just, what is the biggest company and what is the biggest deal, and
best results or whatever.
Which actually we don't really recognise that so much in New Zealand, and we definitely don't necessarily try to quantify it. And there was quite a kind of rigorous criteria and detailed criteria that we went through. And I mean, I guess if you think of somebody like Richard Taylor, he's somebody who's not only just leading, his own company, he's also out there, doing the hard work for New Zealand Inc., promoting New Zealand in markets like China, and also trying to, I guess, promote, nationally this kind of idea that, we should be focused on creativity and, and the creative industries as well as, just our traditional kind of business areas.
Probably all those Oscars on the mantelpiece probably help them sell that a little bit.
Yeah, well, you got to start from somewhere, right? That's a pretty good platform to start from.
Now, thinking about starting things, the infrastructure pipeline, it looks like it's growing, but maybe not too far. What's happening there?
Yeah, so it's ticked up to 275 billion. That doesn't mean that we've all of a sudden, gotten
a way to pay
30
for
billion more of projects or something. Part of it is down to the Infrastructure Commission has just been getting a lot more information from these different organisations about what they're actually doing. So they basically, it requires on organisations voluntarily handing over information. So you're talking councils, central government, and even private organisations as well are also lumped in there.
And you're hoping someone's checking that they're not just writing any old figure on the form and sending that into whoever's adding.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, often these infrastructure pipeline figures end up being bigger at the other end rather than smaller. So I guess the pipeline could be larger. But the I guess the one of the criticisms that's being sort of raised is now that we've got a bit more detail about it, we can actually see that in terms of core, this is funded, and this is also, perhaps going to procurement, or some of those more certain details. There's actually a big drop off in terms of these, in terms of kind of the infrastructure pipeline after kind of mid 2026 is what sort of economists
just before an election.
Yeah, well, that was the big thing, because the big thing with infrastructure has always been, this kind of toing and froing, red team, blue team, going back and forth on infrastructure, cancelling each other's projects, and the sector's saying we need a bit more certainty in order to plan for these, for investing in our workforce and the equipment.
Now we're actually seeing some detail on the page there. And now, there's some rumours floating around about the NZX and the ASX, and when I heard these, I thought, oh right, so we're selling it to the Australians. How wrong am I?
Well, so this is actually, it's actually a rival to the ASX. So it's called CBOE, which it handles about 20%, I think, of the kind of traded stocks in Australia. And the thing is, it used to be called, I think it was the Chicago Board Options Exchange, so that gives you, Chicago, and so this, it's kind of rumored. I don't think NZX has confirmed anything, but there's been some frustration on the Australian end, I guess, especially from kind of the regulator around the ASX fees and things like that. They want. And CBOE as well is just signal that they're going to, they want to.
They might get out of it.
Yeah, well, they are getting out of it. So what's up to question is who's going to buy it. And NZX has actually, even before these rumours, has also been floated out there as, like this would actually potentially work because
pretty similar.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's one that's the countries are close. It's good for the NZX because it's a way of growing their kind of business, and also there's potentially some synergies there because they're so kind of close geographically that there may be some synergies we can share some kind of costs and that kind of thing, and get those kind of costs in the Australian operation down, for example.
Wow. This is a Pavlova moment for the NZX, which could possibly wind up owning the Australians. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, normally it goes the other way around, right? So.
Dig into it, see what you can find for us. Talipa Fonseca from Business Desk. Thank you very much. That's and we talk business every day with our partners, 2 Degrees. Right, 15 years on from the Pike River disaster, family members of those who died will sit down with Workplace Relations and Safety Minister Brooke Van Velden. Claire Sherwood, the News Talk ZB South Island News Director, joins me now with some more on that. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning. Yes, unusual timing for this one, Garth. The families say they don't know if it's a coincidence or not that the minister has said the meeting can go ahead this afternoon. It does mean, though, that the families on the 15-year anniversary of the day that 29 men and boys didn't come home from work at Pike River will not all be together. In fact, 2 of the key family members, Anna Osborne and Sonia Rockhouse, of course, are the 2 that the recent movie Pike River is, centred around. They are in Wellington alongside lawyer Nigel Hampton KC, and will be meeting with Brooke Van Velden this afternoon. The timing couldn't be any more, ominous, given the fact that the mine explosion occurred at about 3:45 in the afternoon 15 years ago. And this afternoon at 4 p.m, they will be sitting down with the minister. They say that they will be speaking to her about what it is like to lose a family at work, the fact that they feel very strongly that workplace laws have moved nowhere in New Zealand in that 15 years. In fact, Anna Osborne's words were she still feels like nobody gives a damn about workplace safety. They are adamant that the workplace health and safety laws under the current government are moving backwards and are being watered down. One of the things they requested from the minister was that, A, she watch the Pike River movie before their meeting, and that she is prepared to hear from them what it feels like. We, my newsroom have put some questions direct to the Minister this week, requesting exactly that information. Has she watched the movie, as the families have wished? Can she confirm that the timing around the meeting is either intentional or an uncomfortable coincidence, and what exactly she intends to get out of the meeting? They haven't answered any of those questions. They have given us a one-line statement which says they've agreed to meet with the families after the families' request to do so, and the Minister is happy to listen to their concerns.
Now, Claire, you've also got some news about some research that's underway down in Canterbury that could help some of our younger players in contact sports, rugby and so on, from taking some severe head knocks. What's the story there?
Yeah, well, from a rugby mum, I'm pleased to hear this news, that's for sure. So we have Canterbury University research team working on a set of protective headgear for junior players, specifically for sort of aged 8 up to 18, knowing, of course, that 80% of New Zealand rugby players at the moment who are actively engaged in the sport are in that age bracket. This headgear is based on real, 10 years of research, real impact from the sport itself rather than laboratory style impacts. And they believe that it's going to reduce the impact of a head knock by up to 40%. The good news is these Canterbury researchers have actually got a US-based company prepared to license the headgear. They say that once it's got approval from World Rugby, it could be available for parents like me to buy for junior rugby players as soon as next year. So watch this space.
Might even see it in time for the Rugby World Cup. That would be amazing. Claire Sherwood, News Talk ZB South Island News Director, thank you very much for joining us with that update this morning. Right, next we'll have some personal finance with Brad Gordon, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Then after 8, rubber roads. Are they our driving future?
Oh, no lemming tech solutions experts.
Here to set up your new smart TV.
Oh, goody. We're a family of 4, so we need it done perfect. Too high. Too low. Just right.
Of course, we can assess your Wi-Fi network and run a speed test. And now check out these features. This is how you get to streaming.
We love streams.
Nobody has supreme knowledge of home TV setup like Noel Leeming.
Ah, here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference. But 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost center reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can I have what she's having?
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
Time to talk personal finance, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Housing, it's long been touted as a safe bet for Kiwi investors, but the costs, the risks and the hurdles, well, they've all risen significantly, and all while the house prices are falling. So where does that leave property investors? Will the market ever be the same again? I'm joined by Forsyth Bar Senior Investment Advisor Brad Gordon. Good morning, Brad.
Morning, Garth.
Hey, lovely to have you here in the studio with us to talk housing. It feels like we never stop talking about housing in New Zealand, but I guess what's changing is exactly that, the picture around costs and pressures and so on. Is it still a relatively sort of safe bet?
Well, it means a lot to all of us, and obviously we have to house our families, and it's important and it provides us some security. But for many people, it's been a wealth creator as well. And for 30 years, they've been right. They've had probably 2 major tailwinds, and we're now saying one of those tailwinds is no longer with us. Not only that, there's been a lot of costs associated with just owning a house that have gone up. The core components or the key components of our inflation over the last 3 or 4 years, all pretty much directly related to property ownership. So it has changed the game a little bit.
So the tailwind you're talking about there really is what, the sort of the drop in values as well, or is that more the rising cost picture?
Look, we've seen about a 16% drop nationwide since 2021. And some people are saying that might be an opportunity. We're saying it might not be. One of the reasons over the last 30 years we saw, or in effect, house prices are two components go into them. One is your median disposable income, household income, and the other component is the ratio to house prices of that median disposable income. Over 30 years, largely because of falling interest rates, we saw that ratio climb up to a high of 11 times, much higher than anywhere else in the world. Part of that was because there was a lack of supply as well.
But just the ability to leverage it as well.
Yeah. And the ability to leverage it. But all those, those key components are now pretty much exhausted. We still have a very high price to income ratio on houses, even now after a 16% pullback. So all we can really rely on is that median household income to rise steadily, which averages between 3 and 4% per annum.
And it's probably just not going to get there in time to sort of catch that up. So what do people need to be considering then? Are they looking at the rental market and saying, gosh, let's see what that's telling us and what sort of yields and returns we're likely to expect there and getting some clues there?
Yeah, well, I think you just stay diversified. Rental property may be one way, and there will be pockets of opportunity if you do your homework and extract yield. But what we're saying is that capital growth component, which people relied on because largely rental property is a sort of break-even income story, they've relied on capital growth. We're questioning the extent of that capital growth going forward.
Questioning it in the medium term, or are you saying this is it, the tide's gone out forever?
I think that ratio, because of the median household income to price ratio is still so high, we don't see it rising any further. Therefore, you're only really relying on increases in median household income to drive house price growth.
So you need to look at diversifying your portfolio completely then, maybe even away from some of that housing?
Well, bringing that back, you can see a strong case for house price growth being around 3 to 4% per annum. Over the prior 30 years, it averaged about 6.5%. That's probably not going to happen again.
And demographics don't play into this anything at all?
Well, that's the other side of thing. The equation is we've seen a supply response. So all this rezoning and that's still taking place, we're seeing a major supply response. So again, one of the drivers was a lack of supply. That's no longer an issue either.
All worth talking about. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Brad Gordon, Forsyth Barr, Senior Investment Advisor. Thanks to our partners, Forsyth Barr. Right, it is 8 o'clock, just after actually, and you're watching Herald Now. Good morning and welcome to Herald Now. I'm Garth Bray. It's Wednesday, the 19th of November. On the show today, well, last night they picked up an award at the Business Desk CEO's Index. This morning he's opening a store. Briscoe's Group boss, Rod Duke, on the future of retail next. The rubber is hitting the road, literally. The country's first rubber road is planned for Selwyn. Is this a game changer for our struggling infrastructure? And then, if you're looking for somewhere to take someone special for dinner, Viva magazine have named the top 50 restaurants in Auckland. Jesse Mulligan will break them down for us. It's 8:02. Here's the news with Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A plea for major political parties to stop the U-turns and depoliticise crucial long-term growth policies. A new Business NZ report suggesting ways to strengthen New Zealand's position by 2050, ahead of predicted worker shortages. Advocacy Director Catherine Beard says policy reforms must include cross-party agreement to raise the retirement age, a KiwiSaver contributions boost, financial literacy in schools, and a well-planned immigration strategy. Families of some of the Pike River miners are spending today's anniversary in Wellington, meeting with the Workplace Relations and Safety Minister. It's 15 years since 29 men died in the mine, their bodies never recovered. Anna Osborne, who lost her husband, and Sonia Rockhouse, whose son died, will sit down with Brooke van Velden this afternoon. They plan to tell her how hard it is to lose a loved one at work and feel like it's brushed under the carpet. More revelations relating to the West Coast religious community of Gloria Vale. The Herald's revealed Oranga Tamariki received a complaint about Gloria Vale parents suffocating children 8 years ago. But the agency concluded their investigation with police without taking any formal enforcement action. Concern more than half of trainees aren't completing their apprenticeships. Vocational Education Minister Penny Simmons is seeking extra funding so new industry bodies can investigate low apprenticeship completion rates. She says the government could help through policy settings and funding, but the nature of the problem was likely to vary between industries. Te Pukenga Chief Executive Gus Gilmore says things like training wage rates, low pay and the economic downturns causing them to lose their job. The Police Commissioners apologised to staff affected by email protocols in the Jevon McSkimming scandal. 36 emails were sent to the Police Minister's office containing serious accusations against the former Deputy Commissioner, but these were forwarded straight to police headquarters. The revelations have come after a scathing IPCA report into the handling of these allegations. A fresh plea for Rotorua's courthouse to be prioritised as we head into election year after it ranked last in the latest court users survey. Concerns about leaks, delays and safety issues have been raised for years, alongside calls for the building to be redeveloped or replaced. Despite being part of a pitch at the government's Investor Summit earlier this year, the funds were not allocated in this year's budget. The Ministry of Justice's survey found 68% of court users were satisfied or very satisfied with the services and facilities, down 10% on 2023. It says the questions changed substantially between surveys and Rotorua ranked highly in other areas.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Otago's opening trio of Jack Boyle, Jacob Cumming and debutante Tom Jones have posted centuries against hosts Wellington as part of 428 for 4 on the opening day of the Plunket Shield cricket season. League forward Ali Kato has been ruled out of the next NRL season due to medical advice after suffering several head knocks playing for Tonga in the Pacific Championships. He has departed hospital to rehabilitate at home. Fabian Holland's rookie All Blacks season has been recognised with a nomination for Breakthrough Player of the Year by World Rugby.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora. There's been wet weather overnight and Wednesday holds plenty more in store as this weather system brings further moisture from the north. It also continues to stream warm air over the country, so it's a warm and muggy start to the day. With so much wet weather around, heavy rain watches and warnings remain in place today with possible downpours. Remember that heavy rain can lead to things like surface flooding, rapidly rising streams and rivers, and difficult driving conditions. It's another warm day in the deep south with a break in the weather for most. However, the Otago coast may see some cloud increasing tonight. There's a bit more weather for this part of the South Island and heavier showers are possible tonight for parts of Tasman, Nelson and the Marlborough Sounds. It's a warm day with wetter periods throughout the day, but Taranaki may see heavy rain at times with the heavy rain watch in place until 7 p.m. Take extra care in the Bay of Plenty this morning after a wet night. Further heavy rain is expected today with downpours possible. A muggy day can be expected for the upper north with warm temperatures and rain at times, giving things a bit of a tropical feel. After widespread rain sweeps through this morning, on and off showers can be expected this afternoon and evening.
You're watching Herald Now. The cream of corporate leadership gathered in Auckland last night for the inaugural Business Desk CEO Index Awards. The awards recognise the top 20 execs in 4 categories, and in the listed companies section, Briscoe Group's Rod Duke took home the trophy. and he joins us now live from one of his Rebel sports stores. Good morning, Rod Duke. You are up and on the tools straight away, I see.
Yes, mate, up very early this morning.
Is this a special early opening just for us, is it?
You and a couple of other special guests.
So this is, I think this is one of your Rebel sports stores that you've sort of run a grand reopening for to fire things up again. Is this part of the little bit of magic that the judges decided you bring to retail?
Yeah, this is our largest Rebel sports store in New Zealand, and in fact it was our first Rebel sports store in New Zealand that I remember standing here nearly 30 years ago in September 1988 and September 1996 and opening. What's that? 29 years and a couple of months ago.
Quite a lot of consistency there to sort of stay in the game all that time. Retail's not easy. What do you think you've brought to it?
I think both our brands, the Homewares brand and also the Sporting Goods brand, are now market leaders in this country. And I think if you continue to innovate with new product, innovative in-store design, then you deserve to win along the way, I think.
Tough competition though. I mean, just down the road from there, you've got some Swedes hoving into view. Will you be popping down for some meatballs to see how the competition shapes up when IKEA finally opens?
Yeah, I think I'll give them a couple of weeks, but I suspect that the store in New Zealand will look pretty much the same as they do in Australia. I don't expect there to be any real innovation for this country. So we're familiar with them. They're terrific competitors, fabulous retailers. I think they'll do quite well.
Bit of complimentary there. Does that sort of help to sharpen your game a little bit, having some competition come in like that?
Absolutely, and look, that's
back. There we are. I think you were telling us how you're quite keen to face the competition, which is, I mean, look, I'll be honest, sir, at your age and stage, you'd be thinking about heading to the golf course, wouldn't you? Why do you still over the detail and run the team?
Look, it's a lot of fun. B, I've still got a lot of money involved in it. And look, I can play golf and go fishing pretty much now anyway with the experienced management team I've got. So look, my body can't take any more golf.
But you can handle a stock take and keeping an eye on the profit and loss.
But I can handle reading the ledgers and looking at the profit and loss. Yes, mate, I can.
Now, I might have copped a bit of criticism from a few people today already for being a bit of a Grinch, saying, goodness me, people are running around putting the Christmas decorations up already. You're probably selling a few. But, I mean, is there a problem with seasons sort of bleeding through at the moment in retail and people just sort of feeling like it's one continuous sale?
Look, Garth, I think you get a good illustration of that when things are tough. You know, I know last year and again this year, look, Black Friday doesn't start till next week. Well, you see some retailers having Black Friday events from the 1st of November or the end of October. So, yeah, look, it's right. But for some retailers out there, it's panic stations, and so you're just grasping at anything, and that's what the public is seeing.
Rod Duke, I'm sure that you'll be there for quite a wee bit longer there, keeping things and keeping the competition honest there. Rod Duke from Briscoe Group, CEO and inaugural winner of the listed category in the CEO of the Year in the CEO Index from Business Desk. Thanks very much for your time this morning. Right, moving south now, where the rubber is literally hitting the road. New Zealand's first rubber road is being planned in the Selwyn district. Treadlight NZ is the only company providing the recycled rubber granules for use in New Zealand. And Brad Pearce joins me now on the line. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, how are you?
Look, there's that, well, I'm fantastic, but I mean, you look like you're up early and smiling as well. Look, there's that saying, the road rise up to meet you, maybe the wind always be at your back. Is this sort of, literally going to change the driving experience for me?
Well, we hope so. It's technology's moved on. You know, we need to do things differently, and rubber going into roads is not new. You know, we would love to say that we've designed the brew, we've made the cake mix, but we haven't. We have been closely following Canada, South Africa, Australia, America, the UK. Those guys have been doing the rubber into the roads for years now, and we're just trying to bring it to New Zealand as quickly as we can.
So this is like a trial at this stage, basically. I think it's Selwyn Council running something down near the Glen Tunnel Road on State Highway. Let's just check the notes there. State Highway 77, if you know it. It's a nice little inland route if you're making your way south from Christchurch. You might be doing that later this year. So what are you hoping that the trial will show, that our roads can handle what you plan to put down on them?
We don't, yeah, I think so. We don't have any real concerns about it handling it. Roads in Canada, rubber roads in Canada have been down now for 25 years and haven't been lifted. We know that, you know, that the numbers don't lie. The science is in. A road that has rubber in it will last 30% longer, and it will be 20% quieter. They're good things for everybody, right? But the kicker is we're taking a waste product which was going to landfill before Taiwais came in with this fantastic new government stewardship. And we're turning this into a valuable resource that we can do better for New Zealand. You know, to export tyres out of our country, waste tyres, is wrong. You know, we should be dealing with our own mess. It's our place, it's our problem. We should be fixing it. We've invested heavily in this. Tomorrow we open our new factory here in Cambridge, purpose-built for this. At the moment, all our rubber granules are going into kids' playgrounds, artificial sports fields, horse arenas, mattings, tiles, footpaths. You know, great company up in Auckland, Porous Lane, you know, now making footpaths with our rubber. What we need is some big volume tickets, and roading gives us that. So roading means that we can probably put about 6 million tyres come into New Zealand every year. Roading could take 1.5 million of those tyres. So it's exciting. We're amped. We're pumped.
As someone who grew up in Northland and is just used to sort of the roads disintegrating every 5 minutes, it feels like, and needing a patch up. Is this a solution for that? Is this kind of like a self-healing surface, or one that's going to hang together a bit better?
Yeah, so again, we haven't made the brew. We've been working with global companies that have been doing this for a really long time now. Aussies love it with their variable temperatures because the road has a little bit of give into it. The UK love it because the rubber never ices over. Canada have been, and South Africa have probably led the way for 25 plus years now, putting rubber in the roads. And just the maintenance is less. The roads hold together better. It's exciting. You know, we're really hoping that the New Zealand contractors will understand that sometimes things have to change, and it's not just about changing the brew for the roads. It's about we have to deal with our own rubbish. And this is a real opportunity that the roading contractors and NZTA can help us all do it. And again, without Taiwais, the government stewardship, none of this would have been possible. So this is really exciting.
No, we're just sort of pushing the rubber down the road a little bit, or the rubbish down the road a little bit. Does it stay there, or does it break up and wind up back in the environment?
No, absolutely. So it stays there because it's sealed in the bitumen. And then, just like normal, when a road is resurfaced at a later date, it is mulched up, it stays in it, we add more, and it just stays in the road. So it just keeps adding to the actual surface. It's a great product when it's used correctly. It's not the waste product and the scourge of the paddocks and the silage heaps that we always thought it was. It's better than that.
Sounds like an exciting opportunity for you there, Brad. I hope it goes really well. That's Brad Pearce from Treadlight NZ. And look, now, if you've got anything to say about any of our topics at all, please just let us know. Flick us an email. That's probably the best way. Herald Now at nzherald.co.nz. That's Herald Now at nzherald.co.nz. We would love to hear your feedback. Coming up next, the Kiwi scientists who built a search and rescue tool so simple you could probably fold it up on your kitchen table, but it's so powerful you can see it can be seen from space. How does it work? Well, find out right here next.
You Do It DIY can make your new dream kitchen a reality. As a trusted Kiwi manufacturer for 44 years, You Do It has made it easy to design, order and assemble your own dream kitchen, offering a range of colour options and flexible sizing. With excellent online support, our customers all agree that You Do It makes DIY easy, delivering superb quality at a great price. Get your project started today at newsroom.co.nz.
We have completed 4 builds with GJ. Every time we want to think of building, we always go back to GJ.
It's a really good experience throughout the whole process.
They deliver what they promise on, and it feels like working with a family member. It's very easy and trustworthy to work with GJ.
Stop paying the waiting tax. The money you could miss out on by delaying the start of your investment journey. Up your tempo with Tempo, the guided investment app that helps you get started. Don't delay because you don't think you have enough time, money, or know-how. All you need is a goal, and our guidance will help with the rest. Plus, this month, get a guaranteed $10 Kickstarter and the chance to win $1,000. Download Tempo now.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
It's 8:19. Well, a Kiwi-made innovation is set to transform search and rescues at sea. Instead of relying solely on emergency beacons, the lightweight radar reflectors are foldable. They can be deployed in seconds, and they're powerful enough to be spotted from space. Joining me now is Dr. David Galligan, Chief Scientist at the New Zealand Defence Force, and Dr. Tom Dowling, University of Auckland scientist. Good morning to both of you. And it's not just you here this morning. We've also got a wee visitor, which is a practical demo of what we're talking about here.
A radar reflector indeed, ready to make you seen from space.
So, okay, so literally if we fire this thing up, we'll be seen from space, or maybe the roof could get in the way?
Outside the building. Yeah, absolutely. If we took the roof off the building, we'd absolutely see you from space in a very bright and flashy way.
So what if I can ask you, Tom, what sort of sparked this?
So this really comes from marrying my two loves of the sea and science and remote sensing. So I'm an Earth observation physical systems scientist. So I work with satellites and drones. And my last job was in the Royal Navy. So putting these two things together, I was like, okay, I want to save lives at sea.
Fantastic. And what's the NZDF's interest in all of this?
So we have a science technology unit in NZDF that I run, and we're really keen on innovations across the board. New Zealand Defence Force is a key part of the search and rescue apparatus for the country, one of the biggest search and rescue zones in the world across the ocean. And we're looking at ways of being more efficient and effective for those searchers, where we often use very expensive planes, there's few of them, and ships. How can we do it more effectively, and how can we save those lives that may be lost around the Pacific Islands, for example, and really make a difference?
Is this a cost solution, really?
It's part of an overall solution. So ideally people will have EPIRBs and other electronic devices. This provides a really good secondary capability. It's completely passive, it doesn't require batteries or anything. And as anyone knows, in an emergency, the simplest things are often the best. So people should definitely acquire those other devices. Some people can't afford to though as well. So this is a matter of doing the best we can for everyone. And for NZDF, those scarce assets that we've got, we can really deploy them in the best way possible.
You've got it with us. Do you want to give us a vague idea of how it works the best you can?
Absolutely. I'll try not to take out the desk as I do it. So this is a full-size working model.
Goodness me, it's like one of those sort of Tetris.
There you go. So this is my engineering colleague, Ella Fasciano. It's her genius at work here.
Right.
And what we have here is a selection of what's called corner reflectors. So it's 3 faces at 90 degrees to one another that reflect radar energy. And what they do is they gather all the energy and then send it back to the receiver. So instead of it scattering away and it being like this kind of faint signal, it picks it all up and sends it back. So this has a radar cross-section equivalent to 800 meters squared, although if it was a flat metal sheet. So
that sounds really complicated, like some sort of physics and origami blend there. I don't know what's
That is. I'll just move that out of the way again. Apologies. Yes, it is. That is literally what it is. It's a combination. We looked at origami and mathematical topology, combined it with some really cool fundamental physics, and you end up with something like this.
Fantastic. So And it's the folding that really helps you.
Yes, exactly. So, the design space here is ultra cheap, ultra lightweight, self-deploying, but no gas, no power.
So no battery required?
No battery whatsoever. It's the potential energy stored in the springs inside that pops it up. Which means that, it looks really simple, and it looks like it's been made at a Bunnings store, because it is. We're trying to choose low cost.
This is real sort of number 8 wire innovation stuff.
Absolutely.
Where does the patent for all of this sort of sit? Where does the IP rest?
Sure. So there's actually 3 registered designs and 2 patents associated with this, because there's a variety of different things. And it sits with the university, and we're actually looking to spin that out to make this a real thing.
So this could be a commercial opportunity for them and for you now, I understand.
Yes, yeah. Much to my surprise, I'm now the CEO of a spin out. Not quite sure how that happened to me. And it wouldn't be possible without defence science and technology.
And I should point out, this is really what we're trying to do more of. We've got a defence industry strategy. This is well aligned with that, actually supporting some of these really cool developments. I should also point out that's a prototype, so a lot of the work here has been very iterative. As was mentioned, the Bunnings kind of example, you've got core flute, you've got gaffer tape, you've got tin foil. Eventually this will be commercialised into a more kind of permanent product, but the whole point here was cheap and cheerful, and it's staying relatively cheap, and ability to rapidly reiterate. So basically fail fast, try a different thing again and again, as there's been a lot of sweat from people to actually get to a point of the best prototype.
Great to see how it's looking anyway. Thanks for joining us now today. Tom Dowling from the University of Auckland and Dr. David Galligan, Chief Scientist at the New Zealand Defence Force. Right, it is 8:24, and coming up next we'll have our panel, Deborah Peed and Simon Bridges, to talk through the big issues of the day. Then after 8:30, the Viva Restaurant Awards. Jessie Mulligan will have Auckland's top places to eat. We'll let you know what's number 1.
I'm Hayden Scott, and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life I was a chef, did that for 25 years. But I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time. And so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker, I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Oh, no liming tech solutions experts.
Here to set up your new smart TV.
Oh, goody. We're a family of 4, so we need it done perfect. Too high. Too low. Just right.
Of course, we can assess your Wi-Fi network and run a speed test. And now check out these features. This is how you get to streaming.
We love streams.
Nobody has supreme knowledge of home TV setup like Noel Leeming.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then.
I became a Herald journalist to go behind the headlines and to help people make sense of the world.
I became a Herald journalist to help people understand the big issues that affect them.
To ask the right questions and to press people who have the answers.
To listen to people and to be fair and balanced.
To highlight the plight of the marginalised and vulnerable and challenge those in authority.
To share extraordinary moments in the lives of ordinary people.
I became a Herald journalist to report the facts. That's what we're here to do.
If it's news you can trust, it's news worth knowing. The New Zealand Herald.
You're back with Herald Now. Now to talk the big issues of the day. I am joined here on the panel with Deborah Peed from Peed PR and Simon Bridges, the Auckland Business Chamber CEO. Good morning to both of you.
Morning, Garth.
You didn't arrive here on a rubber road, Deborah?
No, those days are long gone. And we had those in South Africa in the 80s, so I'm surprised we've taken so long to get with the program in New Zealand.
It's good that you've got one little thing over us there. It does sound like quite a cool way to sort of get rid of the rubbish, I suppose. If you
Look, it's a win-win solution. I mean, it's not the silver bullet, but it's a very smart part of the puzzle, because by recycling tyres and producing roads that are easier on the ears, easier on vehicles, certainly I'm thrilled to see that we're going to have them.
If only we had a former Transport Minister here who could explain why we didn't have them 12 years ago.
I hesitate to say chair of NZTA Waka Kotahi, but we won't go there. I mean, I think it's good. Try anything once, right? See what it's like with rubber. We actually, when you think about it, I mean, there's quite a few concrete roads, and then we've got, what we think of, which is, what is it, bitumen and the various other things that we use. So, I mean, you're looking at, the cost up front, the cost of maintenance over time. How does it go? But let's see. If it goes well, it could be the big new South African thing.
Well, can I just put out there, my farm is on a dirt road, and if they're looking for a road to practice on and perfect it, Paparo Station Road, Paparo Kaipara will put out the red carpet for them.
You'll bake some scones and that will be all the consideration
The district
that you
will
need.
come together with force for that.
Yeah, spraying it down with oil, so sort of 1990, isn't it? There we go. Hey, look, we had Richard Chambers, the Police Commissioner, a hard-working man, live into the studio from The Hague, where he tells me he hadn't had time for a swim. What's the deal there?
This is so New Zealand. I mean, we've got a tsunami warning. The ocean is saying, don't come in me. I mean, this isn't a suggestion. And here we have Richard Chambers, hold my beer. He's going for a swim. But look, I guess he does like
hold my dry fit, I think was probably more like it. He was out for a run.
But, I mean, Cash Patel as well. Were there any photos of them in their togs? That's what I'm interested in.
That's the OIA that we all really want.
Would that be good or bad? It's hard to know. I mean, I think, firstly, I suppose it's fair enough. You've got police, they're meant to be the ones enforcing the rules, so it's a story, right? That said, he's apologised, move on. I mean, I think the real thing here is maybe it's the budgie smugglers picture that's out there, I don't know, but I think actually they're doing this on 30th of July in Wellington.
Yeah.
Who goes for a swim on 30 July in Wellington?
It's a good harbour to look at, I reckon.
Yeah, no, our cops are tough, that's what we can say.
There's been a lot going on with police. I mean, do we think it's a bit surprising that this sort of popped up from somewhere? It sort of almost has a whiff of distraction to me, if you ask. If I'm being uncharitable.
You're very cynical or very realistic. It's hard to know. And he had a speeding ticket a week ago or something, didn't he?
Yeah. Look, I can understand why it's a news story, because it ticks all the blocks. I mean, the celebrity, its leadership, the rules were broken. But does it deserve the hype? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And by comparison to the rest of the drama surrounding the police at the moment, it's like 10. It's low down on the scale.
Yeah, it feels like that. Do we think that that's sort of played out now, or do you think we're hearing some more sort of stuff this morning about?
I think it's still got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's pretty
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Look, we've got the Viva Restaurant Awards coming up. I'm just sort of wondering, do you guys get out and about and eat at all, or are you always back on the phone?
Do I ever? I mean, bon vivant should be part of my job description. And I want to know how I get Kelly's job, because that, I'm so looking
It's very
forward
glamorous.
to eating my way through this list. I must say I have eaten at most of these establishments, but there's a few that I'm coming for them.
So you're offering yourself as a guest reviewer, that's what I'm hearing here.
Well, putting it out there.
And what I want to know, also having eaten at, I think, basically all of these restaurants, is why do I look like this and Jessie looks like that? What's going on?
Well, that is a question we may or may not have.
My father used to say, never trust a skinny chef. Can we trust a skinny restaurant critic? I mean, that is the question.
Jessie is waiting in the wings for those of you who don't. We don't have full wide camera here, but I'm sure he'll get his chance to retort later.
Yeah. I just need to dob Jessie in. He did ask if there was hair and makeup when he arrived, so just putting that out there.
He doesn't need it.
Look, they do say if you don't know what's on the menu, it's you. Hey, look, I take care of my own hair and makeup. Obviously, the hair part is pretty straightforward. Hey, look,
with a haircut like that, you could be Prime Minister, my friend. I tell you what.
You're not the first person that said that. I think the last one actually was the Prime Minister, so I'm not too sure what to make of that.
You started a trend.
Exactly. I'm certainly climbing on it. Hey, look, age gaps. We're seeing a bit of celebrity age gap relationship thing. The rule is apparently half your age plus 7.
I have heard that. I mean,
you mentally doing the maths?
Well, I wouldn't, of course, but it's certainly interesting. I mean, let's be honest. And anyone who says this is not true, they are lying to you. If you see a 60-year-old man or a woman with like a 20-year-old a 28-year-old man or woman, you look, don't you? You're fascinated by it.
Princess Diana and well, now King Charles, I suppose, that was, what was it, 31 and 19, which is sort of a staggering kind of a difference.
Yeah.
Do we think this sort of thing's maybe lost its...
I think, you know, it sounds like a very old-fashioned rule, but I think it more comes down to age and stage of your life. Like a, 50-year-old with a 65-year-old is not so bad, but a 20-year-old with a 35-year-old, that sort of, it does get some glances.
And when he's 85 and dribbling into his soup and you're only 43.
Exactly.
How glamorous is that?
Yeah. But, look, what was the difference between Rod and Rachel? That was a big gap, and sort of no one really commented on that. But I suppose rock stars get a free pass through life. So. And
I will say, actually, in my family, my lovely wife, Natalie, her mother and father, happily married, I don't know, let's say 45 years. I think there's an 18-year age gap, still going well. So, I suppose if you're happy.
If you can make it work, if it works well, I think in my case it's about a 22-day age gap. So there you go. We went the other way.
Older woman?
Older man. I am the older man, I should point out. There we go. Simon Bridges and Deborah Peat, thanks very much for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
Right, it is 8:33 and it's time for the news with Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
A plea for major political parties to stop the U-turns and depoliticise crucial long-term growth policies. A new Business NZ report suggesting ways to strengthen New Zealand's position by 2050 ahead of predicted worker shortages. Advocacy Director Catherine Beard says policy reforms must include cross-party agreement to raise the retirement age, a KiwiSaver contributions boost, financial literacy in schools, and a well-planned immigration strategy. Families of some of the Pike River miners are spending today's anniversary in Wellington, meeting with the Workplace Relations and Safety Minister. It's 15 years since 29 men died in the mine, their bodies never recovered. Anna Osborne, who lost her husband, and Sonia Rockhouse, whose son died, will sit down with Brooke Van Velden this afternoon. They plan to tell her how hard it is to lose a loved one at work and feel like it's brushed under the carpet. More revelations relating to the West Coast religious community of Gloria Vale. The Herald's revealed Oranga Tamariki received a complaint about Gloria Vale parents suffocating children 8 years ago. But the agency concluded their investigation with police without taking any formal enforcement action. Concern more than half of trainees aren't completing their apprenticeships. Vocational Education Minister Penny Simmons is seeking extra funding so new industry bodies can investigate low apprenticeship completion rates. She says the government could help through policy settings and funding, but the nature of the problem was likely to vary between industries. Te Pukenga Chief Executive Gus Gilmore says things like training wage rates, low pay and the economic downturns causing them to lose their job. The Police Commissioners apologised to staff affected by email protocols in the Jevon McSkimming scandal. 36 emails were sent to the Police Minister's office containing serious accusations against the former Deputy Commissioner, but these were forwarded straight to police headquarters. The revelations have come after a scathing IPCA report into the handling of these allegations. A fresh plea for Rotorua's courthouse to be prioritised as we head into election year after it ranked last in the latest court users survey. Concerns about leaks, delays and safety issues have been raised for years, alongside calls for the building to be redeveloped or replaced. Despite being part of a pitch at the government's Investor Summit earlier this year, the funds were not allocated in this year's budget. The Ministry of Justice's survey found 68% of court users were satisfied or very satisfied with the services and facilities, down 10% on 2023. It says the questions changed substantially between surveys and Rotorua ranked highly in other areas.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora. There's been wet weather overnight, and Wednesday holds plenty more in store as this weather system brings further moisture from the north. It also continues to stream warm air over the country, so it's a warm and muggy start to the day. With so much wet weather around, heavy rain watches and warnings remain in place today with possible downpours. Remember that heavy rain can lead to things like surface flooding, rapidly rising streams and rivers, and difficult driving conditions. It's another warm day in the deep south with a break in the weather for most. However, the Otago coast may see some cloud increasing tonight. There's a bit more weather for this part of the South Island, and heavier showers are possible tonight for parts of Tasman, Nelson and the Marlborough Sounds. It's a warm day with wetter periods throughout the day, but Taranaki may see heavy rain at times with the heavy rain watch in place until 7 p.m. Take extra care in the Bay of Plenty this morning after a wet night. Further heavy rain is expected today with downpours possible. A muggy day can be expected for the upper north with warm temperatures and rain at times, giving things a bit of a tropical feel. After widespread rain sweeps through this morning, on and off showers can be expected this afternoon and evening.
If you are wanting to make a splash with a good date night spot this summer, well, this next one's for you. Viva dining out editor Jessie Mulligan and food writer Kelly Gibney have spent the last few months wining and dining to find the very best that Auckland has to offer and compiled their findings in the Viva Top 50 Auckland Restaurants list. Let's take a look at that now.
Well, I think this is my 5th year of the Viva Top 50, and this year has been the best of the lot. Man, oh man, Auckland eating has never been better.
It was a real privilege to turn a really thoughtful eye to the way that restaurants are in Auckland at the moment, and it's really good news with such good eating, lots of incredible nights.
I think everyone at the moment is thinking about how they spend their money, right? And there is nothing worse than feeling like you've gone out and you wasted your money. Well, we can guarantee that not a dollar you spend at any of these restaurants will be wasted. You'll be so pleased that you went there.
And Viva Dining Out editor Jessie Mulligan and food writer and photographer Kelly Gibney join me in the studio right now to talk about all they saw and tasted. Thank you very much.
Kia ora, Garth. Nice to see you.
Kia ora, good to see you. Jessie, I love the kerchief, by the way. That was outstanding. First, should we clear the...
This is it here, yeah.
Yeah.
My stylist said we're going to show people Jessie Mulligan like they've never seen him before, and this is Italian summer we're doing here.
Yeah, it's a Roman holiday.
People in the mood for summer.
Did we find a little pomodoro along the way to spice things up a little bit?
Well, you'll have to look inside to see.
Right. Okay. Was the judging pretty tough this year? I'll ask you, Kelly.
I mean, it's two things. It's a total pleasure. Like, what a fun job. Couldn't be better. So many amazing meals. Yeah, it's amazing. But then part of it is also agonising getting it down to just 50 because there are more than 50 amazing restaurants in Auckland. But we had to come up with the 50 that we rock solid stand by. So excited for you to try.
I mean, we talk about the top end, but at the bottom end, that 50 cutoff is brutal, absolutely brutal.
The last one in the door is pretty tough.
100%. We've got an Excel spreadsheet, and all those restaurants below it, we're like, shed a tear for them.
Yeah.
How are you grading this? How are you trying to work out the difference?
Gosh, I mean, there were a couple of restaurants where we were like, this is a really good restaurant technically, but I don't want to go back. Or I would worry about sending a friend here, right?
Yeah, it's definitely... Two things stand out to me, which is one, would I be so excited to send somebody else there? I know they'd have a great time and I can't wait to hear how it went for them. And then the other thing is, am I still thinking about that food a couple of days later? You know, I can't cook that at home. It's on my mind. I can't wait to go back and eat it. And sometimes those are the deciding factors.
Is that just because they're bombing your Instagram because you've been there once and you're getting the dishes 50 times over once?
Yeah, Kelly got to do it fairly anonymously this year. Her first year as judge, did a fantastic debut as judge. I'm a little bit harder to slip in unannounced, Garth, but I still sometimes manage it. Haven't quite resorted to the disguise yet.
The glasses and moustache.
Full head shave, perhaps. That might be the trick for you. Yeah. Look, what do you order? How do you know what to do? Because you can't eat the whole menu, I suppose. So, Jessie, you go in there. What do you pick for the specialty, or do you pick the thing that people are likely to pick?
I get something from every part of the menu. I sort of nosily look at the table next to us. I'll often go with somebody else, so we'll get to order a little bit more food than if I was eating by myself. And you get a pretty good sense of it, right, from 4 or 5 dishes.
Maybe chat to the staff. Like,
Right.
see what they're liking, what's good.
Yeah.
Oh, you will
That
take a
can-
recommendation rather than just trust that as this is what they haven't quite sold enough of. Or,
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting to get another perspective. Like Jessie said, having a peek on other people's tables is always really good. I think I found it tricky not to balancing it between ordering my favourites and then ordering the thing that I was really curious about and might make the restaurant stand out a little bit.
Yeah, I always say to the waiter, what's unmissable, which is a good start. You just have to be careful that they're not pointing you towards the stuff that everyone else orders, because there's popular and there's great, and they're not always the same thing.
And that goes, I'm sure, for restaurants in general too, right? So what, I guess, if you were looking at standouts, if you're looking at, this is date night, and you're trying to make a real splash, really impress someone new or really impress someone that you need to impress, for whatever reason.
I love Gilts for date night. Josh Emmett's place, downtown, really romantic, kind of a Frenchy vibe, beautiful food, crisp service. How about you?
I would say I'm a big fan, depending on if we're talking like first date or like 200th date, you know, with your long-term partner. I quite like sitting side by side at a bar. That's really relaxed, but you can still get an amazing dining experience like Culprit in the city, and so you're getting amazing food, but you can sit up at the bar, watch the action, and that can just be so fun, that kitchen theatre.
It's such a great tip, because there's a lot of pressure when you're looking like so quite nice if, oh look, that looks good, doesn't it? Oh and you can
be shoulder to shoulder.
That's nice. Let's turn this into a dating advice
Lots to say.
Take it away. I mean, if you're looking at something that's turned up, that's new, where are you looking? What's a new name that you would sort of steer people towards?
There's a couple of really interesting and lovely hotel restaurants that have opened up. It hasn't been a classic 12 months for restaurant openings. It's actually been quite a tough winter. But when a flash new hotel opens up, they'll often put a lovely restaurant at the bottom. Bistro Sane that we've both went to.
Yeah, Bistro Sane is on Albert. You can enter it from Albert Street and what's the square?
Yeah,
and
whatever.
Other square on the other side. And it
St.
is
Patrick's Square.
Yeah, that's right. It's a hotel restaurant, but it stands entirely on its own. Just beautiful contemporary take on French cuisine. You walk into the dining room, you're totally transported. Gorgeous drinks, really great
The goal of a
staff.
hotel restaurant is to not feel like a hotel restaurant.
And they land it. They land it.
That's great. You don't want too much sort of bain-marie and coffee going on, and you know, people getting ready to set up for breakfast as you're sort of showing you out the door.
You don't want the sense that you can already imagine the buffet breakfast that's going to be happening the next morning. This is nothing like that.
I do like a good breakfast buffet.
100%.
Anyway, but just maybe not at dinner time.
Yeah.
Not at dinner time. Okay, we're going to do winners and runners up.
Great.
If we want to first talk about the runner-up, I think was also awarded Best Service. Where was that?
Paris Butter. Just a brilliant, brilliant, top-of-the-line restaurant. Would compete with any other restaurant in the world. If you had an unlimited budget and you wanted to taste the greatest fine dining food you can find in Auckland, Paris Butter is your ticket.
Right, and I think those that were watching carefully might have just got a bit of a clue as to who's the supreme winner, which is?
Tala.
Tala.
So they're in Parnell. It's modern Samoan cuisine. Just exquisite. Just incredible storytelling through food. Beautiful room. They cook over an open fire. Incredible smells. I could just keep with generosity, playfulness.
Palu Sami.
It's wonderful.
Literally.
Yeah.
The chef, Henry, was a dancer at Disney World, and he was like,
great pivot.
I'm not sure this is the career for me. And he met his now wife, Debbie, and they came back to New Zealand and opened this restaurant. And it's caused such a huge splash in the Auckland dining scene. And he's getting people from all over, including quite a few people from Samoan heritage, going to feel the nostalgia and see the reinvention of food they know so well at that really high end.
Right. I mean, that's a big story, right? If you can take a traditional food and something that's done the way your mother used to do or the way your grandmother used to do it, and then apply something new. Is that, I mean...
And it's not just the food as well. I booked under a fake name.
Well done.
I turned up and they said, hello, Jessie, we've got your table ready for you. And they had laid the table out in a configuration that I'd asked for 12 months earlier when I visited for the first time, which is my wife and I next to each other rather than opposite each other.
You like the side sitting as well.
Yeah, but they had remembered, they'd somehow worked out I was coming and they'd set the table up for me. I mean, that's incredible.
Do you think this is sort of reviewer bias in a way, though? I mean, they're picking this guy's the guy we really need to impress.
Yeah.
This is the guy we need to nail.
Actually, Kelly was the first visit, again, visiting anonymously this year. And then, well, Garth, just to be sure, I had to go sit through a tasting menu just to make sure it was up to scratch.
I was certain after my visit.
I'm really, really glad that you took this thoroughly. That's fantastic. Look, and what I'm really glad to hear is that you're being warmly welcomed everywhere. I know, restaurant reviewers and critics around the world have sometimes copped a bit of heat for some harsh reviews, but I guess if you're looking at the top 50, you're always going to be on side with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a cheerleading exercise. We are so excited about the good dining around Auckland.
Viva Dining Out editor Jessie Mulligan and food writer and photographer Kelly Gibney. Thank you so much for some great advice for date night. Right, next, entertainment news. Jessie Mortimer is talking about Hollywood's age gap relationships. Whatever happened to half your age plus 7?
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build with GJs because of the good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
I became a Herald journalist to get at the truth.
I became a Herald journalist to share not only what's going on, but also what it means.
To help people make up their own minds about the issues that matter.
To give a voice to every New Zealander and to expose the issues affecting our communities. To make sure that people that are in positions of power are held to account.
To enact change that will ultimately benefit all of society.
To take our readers closer to the action.
I became a Herald journalist to put the facts first. That's the reason we're here.
If it's news you can trust, it's news worth knowing. The New Zealand Herald.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to newsroom.co.nz.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Foresight Bar investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Foresight Bar, investment advice.
Age gap relationships, they've been a source of fascination for centuries, really, from celebrities to neighbours. We're pretty inherently nosy people, aren't we? So is age really just a number? Jenny Mortimer, the chief entertainment reporter here at the Herald, has been probing that somewhat. Jenny, what have you found? What can you share?
Well, it seems the rules in Hollywood are somewhat different than everyday life. Everyone knows. Everyone knows the rule. Half your age plus 7 is supposedly, but in Hollywood, it seems like it can be half your age minus 7, and that's perfectly fine too. You look at relationships like Bill Belichick. He's dating somebody who's 23 and he's in his 70s.
Wow.
In Hollywood, it doesn't seem like people bat so much of an eyelid. However, actress Florence Pugh came out and said when she was 29, she was dating Zach Braff, who was 51, and she couldn't believe the amount of heat in 2023 when they were dating that they received. So there is still that judgment. I just feel like, it's the everyday couples that seem to maybe get more of it as opposed to the celebrity couples because they don't have those PR teams to hide behind, right? Like they can't release a statement about their love.
There they are, just at the school drop-off, being asked what a lovely granddaughter and why are they picking them up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we spoke to a Kiwi couple. They had a 16-and-a-half-year age gap between them, and they said when they had young children, it was, oh, granddad's dropping you off. Nope, that's my dad. But the main thing that they said is, at the end of the day, you are the person who has to be in that relationship for the rest of your life. So yes, there's a lot of noise, but if it is worth it to you, you know what you have, and ignore the noise.
You love who you love, really, don't you?
Exactly.
And now look, Jacinda Ardern, just
Yes.
to change the topic for a minute, is going to be on the Graham Norton show.
Indeed. So when I first heard this, I was like, what on earth for? But it turns out the European kind of leg of promotion for her movie Prime Minister is kicking off. So they are doing 2 different premieres for that. And then it will launch on the 5th of December over there, which is the same date that she's on Graham Norton. So it's all very nicely tied in for, I guess getting everyone to go see Prime Minister in the theatres and special screenings. So
it's quite an experience. I managed to get my parents' tickets to the Graham Norton show taping once when I was living in London, and I think I've just sort of won the Sun Stakes for about a decade off.
Oh, I bet.
It's next level stuff.
Yeah.
They were right up the back though.
Oh well, they were still there. Yeah.
Hey, look. So the other thing I wanted to ask you about was Tom Cruise's Oscar.
Yes. So a lot of people don't know he's actually never won an Oscar before. He's been.
I wonder why. A teen icon, a great force in the industry.
Yes. So he's been nominated 4 times, but he's never won. So he was given an honorary Oscar. They do this once a year, kind of people who have made a real impact in the industry, but some of them, have never actually won the Oscar before. So yes, he finally walked away with an Oscar, and he said that movies are his life. His entire life has been in this industry and creating, cinematic, some would say masterpieces, some aren't such big fans of his work. But he finally got his Oscar after all this time.
I think he gets most of his rewards at the box office, to be quite honest.
Absolutely.
But I mean, honorary Oscar, how do we sort of feel about that? Is it a bit like a sympathy Oscar?
Well, it's meant to celebrate legends.
Right.
So, they do get this status. I've never thought about it like a sympathy Oscar, but I think I like that one better. It's a better way to describe it.
He would completely hate it and probably be banned from some list somewhere now anyway. Jenny Mortimer, thank you so much for sharing that this morning. Right, time to talk more business thanks to our partners 2 Degrees. We've been talking a lot on the show this morning about the big winners out of Business Desk's CEO Index. Earlier, I was joined by Dileepa Fonseca from Business Desk, who is well across it. And I started off by asking what the results tell us about leadership in New Zealand at the moment.
Yeah, so the overall winner was Richard Taylor, CEO of, the co-founder of Weta Workshop, and the winner of the startup category, Mario from Pike, which you had on. Your listed company was Rod Duke from the Briscoe Group, and public sector CEO we also awarded, which is Christine Stevenson, who's the CEO of the Customs Service, which actually just as a side note, Customs actually collects over 10% of the government's revenue. So it's although it flies under, although it flies under the radar, it is it's a massive part of the government as well, massively important for the government. And I think one of I didn't choose these. There was an independent panel that chose it. Business Desk kind of fed in a little bit of our knowledge in terms of a long list of, hey, look, this is the big list that you can choose from. And then it's, largely a panel that kind of made sort of some of the more, the finer grained decisions. But what I like about what they've chosen around this is that, there's a lot of, it's about leadership rather than just, what is the biggest company and what is the biggest deal, and
best results or what?
Which actually we don't really recognise that so much in New Zealand, and we definitely don't necessarily try to quantify it. And there was quite a kind of rigorous criteria and detailed criteria that we went through. And I guess if you think of somebody like Richard Taylor, he's somebody who's not only just leading, his own company, he's also out there, doing the hard work for New Zealand Inc., promoting New Zealand in markets like China, and also trying to, I guess, promote, nationally this kind of idea that, we should be focused on creativity and, and the creative industries as well as, just our traditional kind of business areas.
Probably all those Oscars on the mantelpiece probably help them sell that a little bit.
Yeah, well, you got to start from somewhere, right? That's a pretty good platform to start from.
Now, thinking about starting things, the infrastructure pipeline, it looks like it's growing, but maybe not too far. What's happening there?
Yeah, so it's ticked up to 275 billion. That doesn't mean that we've all of a sudden, gotten,
a way to pay
30 billion more of projects or something. Part of it is down to the Infrastructure Commission has just been getting a lot more information from these different organisations about what they're actually doing. So they basically, it requires on organisations voluntarily handing over, information. So you're talking, councils, central government, and even private organisations as well are also lumped in there.
And you're hoping someone's checking that they're not just writing any old figure on the form and sending that into whoever's adding.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, often these infrastructure pipeline figures end up being bigger at the other end rather than smaller. So I guess, you know, the pipeline could be larger. But the I guess the one of the criticisms that's being sort of raised is now that we've got a bit more detail about it, we can actually see that in terms of like, you know, core, you know, this is funded, and this is also, you know, perhaps going to procurement, or you know, some of those more certain details. There's actually a big drop off in terms of these, in terms of, you know, kind of the infrastructure pipeline after kind of mid-2026 is what sort of economists Jammerbiel
just before an election.
Yeah, well, that was the big thing, because the big thing with infrastructure has always been, you know, this kind of toing and froing, red team, blue team, going back and forth on infrastructure, cancelling each other's projects, and the sector's saying we need a bit more certainty in order to plan for these, you know, for investing in our workforce and the equipment.
Now we're actually seeing some detail on the page there. And now, there's some rumours floating around about the NZX and the ASX, and when I heard these, I thought, oh right, so we're selling it to the Australians. How wrong am I?
Well, so this is actually, so it's actually a rival to the ASX. So it's called CBOE, which is, it handles about 20%, I think, of the kind of traded stocks in Australia. And the thing is, it used to be called, I think it was the Chicago Board Options Exchange, so that gives you, you know, Chicago, and so this, you know, it's kind of rumored. I don't think NZX has confirmed anything, but there's been some frustration on the Australian end, I guess, especially from like kind of the regulator around the ASX fees and things like that. They want, and CBOE as well is just signal that they're going to, you know, they want to.
They might get out of it.
Yeah, well, they are getting out of it. So what's up to question is who's going to buy it, and NZX has actually. You know, even before these rumours, has also been floated out there as, you know, like this would actually potentially work because
pretty similar.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's one that's, you know, the countries are close. It's good for the NZX because it's a way of growing their kind of business, and also like you know, there's potentially some synergies there because they're so kind of close geographically that there may be some synergies we can share some kind of costs and that kind of thing, and get those kind of costs in the Australian operation down, for example.
Wow. This is a Pavlova moment for the NZX, which could possibly wind up owning the Australians. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, normally goes the other way around, right?
Dilipa Fonseca from Business Desk with our partners from 2 Degrees. 15 years ago today, 29 men had gone to work at Pike River and they never returned home. The front page looks at workplace health and safety this morning and whether we've actually learned anything from that disaster. Chelsea Daniels, front page podcast host, joins me now. Chelsea, big topic, good morning.
Do you think anything's changed?
Well, I think we all know a lot more about what went on there, and I think we also think a lot more about workplace health and safety. I know I do. I try to look out for people when I'm working with them, but the rules are changing all the time, aren't they?
Well, of course, Pike River came with it a couple of inquiries. You've got WorkSafe as a result, really, of Pike River as well, and an updated Health and Safety Act. But new research shows, and we've known this for a while, right, that we kill twice as many workers in New Zealand than our mates in Aussie. We kill 4 times as many workers here as in Britain. And I say kill because that's exactly what's happening. People are going to work, getting killed at work, never being able to return home to their families like those 29 men. So I spoke to Victoria University of Wellington Workplace Health and Safety lecturer, Dr. Chris Peace, about this. And basically the Public Health Communication Centre Aotearoa report, that's what we're talking on, shows that the number of work-related deaths in the last 15 years, since 2010, has not substantially reduced. It's costing us about $5.4 billion a year.
Wow. That's a number that we put on grief, basically, as well as productivity and any of the other kind of things that you're trying to measure.
That's your ACC, that's your workplace claim, so it's not just death, it's the injuries and everything as well. And I spoke to Chris about, especially in his line of work, he has to look through it. Every time the fire alarm goes off at work, it's a bit annoying, isn't it? Having to leave your desk and go downstairs and leave everything. You may have been on a roll at your computer or something. I know that I have.
Stop and grab your coffee and...
Well, you can't stop. You got to leave everything here. You got to go with the hordes hordes of people downstairs, etc. But the fact of the matter is, people didn't like wearing seatbelts either, did they, when they first were introduced and mandated? And we now know that we have significant evidence that seatbelts save lives. Yes, they're uncomfortable, they're this, they're that, but workplace health and safety may be annoying, but it's going to save your life and it's going to save the lives of others.
It gets tied up in that red tape discussion, I guess, to some extent. Oh, it's a cost on business, this is difficult, that kind of stuff. I mean, I still remember living in Australia for a couple of years, probably about 20 years ago, and noticing everybody, anyone in a truck, anyone doing any kind of work was like head to toe orange fluoro, high vis, and then came back here and everyone's just sort of shuffling around in their trackies, and then suddenly high vis, some sort of disease spread and everyone was wearing it. It actually kind of makes sense, but I guess we sometimes have to suffer a great loss to understand what we need to catch up on there. Absolutely.
We all hate road cones, but you know what we hate more? Driving into a whole bunch of workers and killing them in the morning when they're working on a state highway.
Wow.
So
that's putting it bluntly, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You have to, eh?
All right. Chelsea Daniels from the Front Page podcast. Thanks very much. Now, just some breaking news that's just in. The US House has overwhelmingly approved a bill demanding that the Justice Department there release all files related to its investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The bill passed 427 to 1 and will now go to a Senate vote before President Donald Trump signs it into law. Trump had called for Republicans to vote to release the files after previously claiming the whole thing was a Democratic Party hoax. It's 9:02 and that's well past time for some more news from Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
A plea for major political parties to stop the U-turns and depoliticise crucial long-term growth policies. A new Business NZ report suggesting ways to strengthen New Zealand's position by 2050 ahead of predicted worker shortages. Advocacy Director Catherine Beard says policy reforms must include cross-party agreement to raise the retirement age, a KiwiSaver contributions boost, financial literacy in schools, and a well-planned immigration strategy. Families of some of the Pike River miners are spending today's anniversary in Wellington, meeting with the Workplace Relations and Safety Minister. It's 15 years since 29 men died in the mine, their bodies never recovered. Anna Osborne, who lost her husband, and Sonia Rockhouse, whose son died, will sit down with Brooke Van Velden this afternoon. They plan to tell her how hard it is to lose a loved one at work and feel like it's brushed under the carpet. More revelations relating to the West Coast religious community of Gloria Vale. The Herald's revealed Oranga Tamariki received a complaint about Gloria Vale parents suffocating children 8 years ago. But the agency concluded their investigation with police without taking any formal enforcement action. Concern more than half of trainees aren't completing their apprenticeships. Vocational Education Minister Penny Simmons is seeking extra funding so new industry bodies can investigate low apprenticeship completion rates. She says the government could help through policy settings and funding, but the nature of the problem was likely to vary between industries. Te Pukenga Chief Executive Gus Gilmore says things like training wage rates, low pay and the economic downturns causing them to lose their job. The police commissioners apologised to staff affected by email protocols in the Jevon McSkimming scandal. 36 emails were sent to the police minister's office containing serious accusations against the former deputy commissioner, but these were forwarded straight to police headquarters. The revelations have come after a scathing IPCA report into the handling of these allegations. A fresh plea for Rotorua's courthouse to be prioritised as we head into election year after it ranked last in the latest court users survey. Concerns about leaks, delays and safety issues have been raised for years, alongside calls for the building to be redeveloped or replaced. Despite being part of a pitch at the government's Investor Summit earlier this year, the funds were not allocated in this year's budget. The Ministry of Justice's survey found 68% of court users were satisfied or very satisfied with the services and facilities, down 10% on 2023. It says the questions changed substantially between surveys and Rotorua ranked highly in other areas.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Otago's opening trio of Jack Boyle, Jacob Cumming and debutante Tom Jones have posted centuries against hosts Wellington as part of 428 for 4 on the opening day of the Plunket Shield cricket season. League forward Ali Kato has been ruled out of the next NRL season due to medical advice after suffering several head knocks playing for Tonga in the Pacific Championships. He has departed hospital to rehabilitate at home. Fabian Holland's rookie All Blacks season has been recognised with a nomination for Breakthrough Player of the Year by World Rugby.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Kia ora. There's been wet weather overnight, and Wednesday holds plenty more in store as this weather system brings further moisture from the north. It also continues to stream warm air over the country, so it's a warm and muggy start to the day. With so much wet weather around, heavy rain watches and warnings remain in place today with possible downpours. Remember that heavy rain can lead to things like surface flooding, rapidly rising streams and rivers, and difficult driving conditions. It's another warm day in the deep south with a break in the weather for most. However, the Otago coast may see some cloud increasing tonight. There's a bit more weather for this part of the South Island, and heavier showers are possible tonight for parts of Tasman, Nelson and the Marlborough Sounds. It's a warm day with wetter periods throughout the day, but Taranaki may see heavy rain at times with the heavy rain watch in place until 7 p.m. Take extra care in the Bay of Plenty this morning after a wet night. Further heavy rain is expected today with downpours possible. A muggy day can be expected for the upper north with warm temperatures and rain at times, giving things a bit of a tropical feel. After widespread rain sweeps through this morning, on and off showers can be expected this afternoon and evening.
Right, we were just talking about how in the US they've voted to release those Epstein files, 427 to 1. Who's the one? I went straight on the Googles, and Republican member Clay Higgins, a congressman from Louisiana, who said it was a principled no. He's just put a statement out on Twitter saying, look, this breaks with 250 years worth of judicial process to be sort of splashing files around while they're investigating and so on. So he's your holdout, just if you were curious. That's it for today from us. We'll be back from 7 tomorrow morning for more news. nzherald.co.nz has it all. A quick thank you to our partners, Forsyth Bar, You Do It, Barker's, Max, 2 Degrees, GJ Gardner, Dilmar and Noel Leeming. And from the team at Herald Now, thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.